What's up guys, today we've got a failed mod installation on a Switch Lite console in here. So let's get this thing opened up and see what the damage is. Alright, so I got the customer note here. Chip was installed by a particular company, which I won't name. They opened it and the installation was poorly done. The 3.3 volt rail showed that it was shorted and it's pulling no current now. Okay, here's the switch. I'm not gonna plug this thing in yet. Instead, let's take this open and take some measurements first. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of the thermal paste that he was talking about. Looks like they used the light specific PicoFly here. So definitely gonna get the battery unplugged from this thing before we do anything. So unplug the battery. Let's check the voltage on the battery quickly. The battery seems completely dead. Yeah, battery is like 100% drained. So that's good to know. Man, there's thermal paste all over this thing. I don't understand why. I'm just gonna clean a lot of this up as much as I can. There's like paste under the RAM chips. I don't know why. There's paste on the PicoFly. Alright, so without doing too much more, I'm going to measure for shorts on all of the points on the PicoFly. So let's zoom in here. So we're going to read in diode mode all of these points, and none of them should show up as red over here. This will turn red if it's under 0.1 voltage drop, which would not be the case for any of these points. So we're going to do red on ground here on the USB-C port. So you can see that's ground. That's what it would look like if we get a short. But in this case, it's ground, so that makes sense. Moving on, we got the B point, 0.37. That looks okay. D point, 0.4. That looks good. That's clock. D point, that's 0.4. That's good. A point, 0.4. C point, 0.42. And yeah, as the customer said, the 3.3 volt rail is definitely shorted. You can see we have basically a dead short on the 3.3 volt rail. Let's check in resistance mode what we're seeing with black on ground, and we're getting under an ohm. My guess is that's the resistance of the leads plus the resistance of the flex cables here. Let me go ahead and take all this crap off. I'm going to take the chip off and we're going to get some readings on the actual board itself. And yeah, like the customer said, the modding service did not reinstall the APU shield for God knows what reason. So they just left it off and threw the heatsink back on, which is pretty strange and also kind of dangerous because this is bigger than the die here. And it's very possible that these points that they soldered to on the APU were shorting against the heatsink. So you don't want to be leaving this shield off. Let's go into the microscope here and pray for this SoC. Oh boy, something weird's going on the left hand side there. And the right hand side, there's barely any solder on those points. So this is a very poorly done installation as far as I can tell. You can see there's not quite enough solder on the right there. And on the left, what's going on here? Why did they short ground to ground? I don't understand the point of that. It's kind of hard to see what's going on with everything so dirty. So I'm going to just try to clean the area. I have absolutely no idea why they do this because this ground point here is already connected to this ground point on the left here. Like literally these are already connected through this flex. Like this is completely redundant. So I don't know what the hell this wire is for. This point looks okay. This point here could use some more solder. Let's do some resistance to ground measurements on these points here. So that's actually fortunately looking fine. That's about 10 ohms, which it should be. And this one should also be about 10 ohms. And it is. So we're looking okay. We've got a nice chunk of nasty thermal paste around the secondary power regulator here. There's thermal paste on the SD card slot. There's thermal paste under where the PicoFly was. All right. And whoa, that is interesting soldering. Not a big fan of how that looks so far. And the 3.3 volt part of the flex cable is doing some wacky stuff. So we got to get this game card slot out here. It's hard to understand what's going on with this installation. This is not the worst soldering I've ever seen, but it is, you know, a little messy for my taste. And there's quite a lot of flux on the board still. Ugh, that is nasty. Let me try just cleaning that up a little bit. You can see why I don't like plugging these things in before taking a look and doing some cleaning and taking some measurements. I mean, even just with that 3.3 volt rail short, we wouldn't want to plug this in via the charger because it's going to kill the BQ chip over time, which potentially is already the case, but I don't want to expedite the process here in any way. All right, so let's just measure on the 3.3 volt rail directly and see what we get with resistance mode. And we're getting 0.5 ohms. So this is pretty much a dead short on the 3.3 volt rail. So I'm going to take off this flex cable and we'll go from there. So I'm just going to kind of gently pull up on this. Already plenty of flux on the board. Wow, there's a lot of weird looking solder on the ground points here. It's not even touching the pad. This solder looks like low melt solder. Like it melts like low melt solder. That shouldn't melt that fast. So I don't know what's going on here. This is kind of strange. What on earth is going on with this solder? It's such a weird consistency. It really feels like low melt solder. I hope that's not what it is. Got a little extra pad on there. Can remove. All right, let me wick whatever the hell this stuff is off the SoC shield. One of the things that people pointed out on my wicking video, which I wish I included, was that wick is extra helpful if you put flux on the wick itself and not just on the point, which is very true. So most of that is off. I'll hit that one more time with another piece of wick. You can see how easily that wicked off. That solder is definitely like low melt solder or something. We also have the shield fully desoldered from the board or ripped off from the board, one of the two. So I'm gonna try to push down on this and hit that solder point there. See if we can't get this resoldered to the board. There we go. That thing is on there now. For now, let's get all this nasty flux off of here. All right, this area is already looking better. Try to get some of this flux off of the SoC. You can see there's a lot of thermal paste too on some of these FPC connectors, which I'm not a big fan of. So we gotta clean that off too. But let's deal with this. So overall, just kind of like a dirty installation. I really don't like how much of this shit is around and how much flux there is still on the board and how much solder was used for all those points. All right, so with all of that off, let's see if we still have a short on the 3.3 volt rail. And yeah, we still have 500 milliohms, which is half of an ohm, which we should definitely not have here. So first, I'm just gonna unplug all of the connectors like the display, digitizer, the fan, all that stuff, just so we can rule out any daughter boards or other things from causing issues. All right, so outside of this speaker here, I've got everything unplugged from the console, and I'm gonna go ahead and inject voltage on the 3.3 volt rail. We're just gonna do like 0.8 volts at a couple hundred milliamps max, and we'll see what we can see. So here's where we're going to be injecting voltage. I don't have the power supply on yet. I'm just going to leave my probe there, and we're going to try to use the thermal camera here to see if we can see something heating up when I turn on the power supply. So we are getting 200 milliamp draw, but because it's a dead short, we're getting only 0.13 volts. So we probably won't see what's heating till we increase voltage and the max amp draw. So I'm gonna go up to 1 volt and we're gonna go to 500 milliamps. All right, and we're gonna inject voltage right there. So I'm gonna turn it on and we're drawing all 500 milliamps and we're getting like 0.1 watts. And I can see already what is causing the issue here. So I'm just gonna use the macro lens and you'll be able to see here, see that thing heating up right there. And I think what's shorted is actually this capacitor on the 3.3 volt rail. I'm pretty sure that's what is shorting. This is a great example of why the macro lens is really nice. We are able to see that this cap here is exactly what is shorting. So let's try to just get that capacitor off. I'm just gonna use a lot of solder on my iron and try to get this thing off that way. This is just because we can't use the hot air station because it's still in the chassis and I don't want to heat the screen up or anything. So with that out, let's just let this thing cool down a little bit and then we can take another measurement on that rail. See if we still have a short. All right, let's check resistance to ground here again. We're getting a healthy 30, 40 kilo ohms. So it was that capacitor that was shorting to ground. We can check in diode mode 2 with red probe on ground and see if we have a healthier looking voltage drop. We do, 0.42. That's exactly what we should be seeing. We just need to replace that capacitor and I'm comfortable testing the console. It's very likely going to be a decoupling capacitor, which means that it's going to be smoothing out noise on the voltage line here. And the reason I believe that is because one side of it is connected to the voltage rail and one side of it is connected to ground. You can see it's ground because it's traveling up here on the ground side of this cap and on this big ground plane here with the arrows on it. These arrows are generally on the ground plane itself. But obviously we can always double check just to make sure. So I'm gonna go into continuity mode, black on ground. We can just be sure that this is in fact ground. You can see we're getting under an ohm there. So that's going to be ground on that side, which confirms my suspicion that this is a decoupling capacitor. The switch would probably work fine without this. It's still a good idea to replace these, especially if you don't see any other decoupling caps around the same area. Outside of this one here, which may actually just be on the input side and not on the 3.3 volt side, I don't see any other decoupling caps, so I do want to replace this. It was about a 560 nanofarad cap, but I'm going to replace this with a 1 microfarad because that's what I have on hand. And for decoupling caps like this, generally as long as you have something as big or larger with a voltage rating that's suitable for this voltage rail, it's okay to replace it with a different one. So I'm going to replace it with one that is twice the value, but that's going to be completely fine for this decoupling capacitor here. So I've got some 1 microfarad caps here that we're going to replace it with. So just tinned those 2 points there. I'm just going to pop a capacitor onto there. And just so things don't blow around too much, I'm just gonna spread the flux out so it's not like all over the place. So I want to get this thing out of the console, and then we can use some hot air on this. So I've got the board out here, but I am worried about this FPC connector still. So I'm gonna cover these two up with some Kapton tape, and then I'm gonna cover it up with some aluminum tape just to shield these things from heat as much as possible. And then I'm gonna direct my hot air more in this direction. So I've got a nice piece of Kapton tape over both of these. I'm just gonna place a piece of aluminum tape. So these should be sufficiently protected from the hot air. And I also have this board out of the console, so we're not melting the console or damaging the LCD. And with these O201 components, they can kind of fly all over the place. So I'm gonna use higher temperature and lower airspeed and hold it in place at first with some tweezers, just like this. Again, I'm gonna point the hot air upwards so I'm not blowing it towards any of those FPC connectors at least. And we've got one side of that cap soldered, so I'm just gonna let go of the hot air. We'll add some fresh flux over it and then reflow the whole thing. Just wiggling into place. The ground side is gonna take a little longer to heat up, you can see there, and that should be plenty good. So I'll let that cool down, and you can see we have done no damage to the FPC connector here or the FPC connector up here. These look completely fine. The Kapton tape I put on just as an additional layer, and the aluminum tape I put over to really deflect as much heat as possible. This works really, really great to protect the FPC connectors from getting melted. You still don't want like prolonged heat with the hot air station because you still can damage these through the tape. I'm just gonna clean the area a little bit here, and this is looking good to me. So let's check this with the multimeter one more time. Black on ground, resistance mode, make sure this is reading good. Cool, so we're in the kilo ohms, that is looking great. So the BQ chip is looking okay, fortunately. What about the M92 chip here? Just based on resistance readings, this is looking okay as well. If the console isn't working still, this is going to be my next spot to check, but for now let's just clean up this nasty flux. Look at that poor liquid damage indicator. Now it's just a flux indicator. It appears to be reading that flux was used in the area. Whatever flux they use smells like candy. Alright, so what we're not going to talk about is the fact that I just dropped this goddamn home button and spent about 15 minutes looking for the damn thing. We're not going to talk about that, and instead we're going to put this back together and test it. Alright, so the board appears to be free of shorts, so I just plugged everything in. As weird as the CPU flex here is, I'm comfortable leaving it on. It doesn't look like it's shorting anything. We got the 3.3 volt cap that was shorted replaced. I cleaned up some flux and stuff around the board, and now I'm comfortable plugging this in to see how it behaves. Again, the battery doesn't really have any voltage on it, so we're not getting anything yet probably. Let's plug this in and see if we get a charging current. So it's taking 100 milliamps, which is already a good sign. We've got the charging symbol. So this is probably fixed. Because the battery's so dead, this generally happens when there is a short on the board. It can just pull all of the juice out of the battery. And when these batteries are extra dead, the charging current is really low. See, it's only taking about 80 milliamps right now. So until the battery has a sufficient voltage on it, it's not going to jump up to a higher current. So this can throw people off sometimes and think that the Switch is taking an improper amount of current, when in reality the battery is just fully drained. I'm just gonna let this thing charge up a bit. We're gonna turn it on, make sure it functions. Oh, and you can see right here, it just jumped up to 400 milliamps. So the battery is taking a lot more current now. You can see the Switch is still not fully on. So it's definitely not the Switch taking that current, it's definitely the battery getting charged. So I'll be back when this thing charges sufficiently. All right, we're back. I just heard the chime of the Switch. You can see this jumped up to 600 milliamps. And if we turn this over, we have a working Switch. So this is great news. I'm gonna get this thing turned off and we can finish up our work on this. All right, so I just removed that little wire there, which was redundant because both of these were connected to ground. Again, not too sure why those were there. And now I'm just gonna touch up all of the soldering work here, which is not horrible, but there we go. That's much better. I'll also just get both of these grounding pads connected. All right, that is looking a lot cleaner to me. Solder joints look a little bit better. So I'm comfortable keeping this on the board. I'll reinstall the flex up here in a clean way, and we will get the PicoFly chip put back in. I did also double check this chip, and it's not like there's any shorts on any of the lines for the chip. So this thing is good to go. So I'm pretty happy with this repair. We're gonna end this one here. I'm not gonna bore you with the installation of the PicoFly chip. I have in-depth videos on my channel about how to install those, but I'll get this installed, get the console put back together, and get it back to the customer. So as always, I appreciate you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.